On the island of Hoy, the hills are said to have been created by an old giant from Caithness who envied Orkney's fertile soil. He carried earth across the Pentland Firth in a straw case, and when the strap broke, the soil spilled out and it formed the Hills of Hoy. The holes he left behind became the lochs of Stennis and Harry, and stray clumps became islands like Grahamsay, Farra and Flotta. When I visited Hoy earlier this year, I realised Hoy is not just about folklore of giants and selkies. It's about sea, scale and survival. I was here visiting my friend Kieran on his island, the island that is his anchorage, his sanctuary, and I wondered about his survival too. Hoy is a remote place, around 400 residents, and some might argue that there's very little in the way of commercial hospitality to draw in the crowds. But this is the gift, an elemental presence and the chance to stand inside a landscape that asks nothing but witness. Everywhere I looked, I could see how the island's cliffs and moors dwarf human presence, reminding us that this island is itself the storyteller, and the stories that this boy had written and spoken about all end and begin here. In Rackwick Bay, the folklore feels alive. The great Atlantic does not whisper its summons. The Selkie's hymn rises from the surf, a siren song not meant for men alone. Even giants lean towards its call. The boy bounds across his Hoy, through the grassy dunes and across the strand-lined stones. His dog Hyms beside him, sea breeze and spirit carrying them away into the spit and choke of the Atlantic waves. The cliffs stand tall as a conductor, echoing and waving the voice of the sea in and around the bay. On Hoy, bog cotton is more than a plant. It's a symbol of resilience and transience. The snowy heads chorus across wet moorland and rocky heathland, warning me the weather is about to change. I ignore their warning and carry on, wondering about Hyms and the boy and where they are now. As I walk along the shoreline stones, each step a balancing act on salt-worn bones. Gazing down, my eyes are drawn to the scraps the sea has thrown, kelp ribbons, sea hair, and threads of tide tangles, foam. They lie like remnants of a body once whole, skin shed, rotted hair, as if the selfie herself had passed this way, shedding her sealskin like a spider leaving its shell behind. She knows the ritual of release, survival's next form. The shore holds tight these echoes of the Selkie's hue, and out beyond the stones, the waves rise in hypnotic blue, pulling, luring, snarling, the great sound of the sea, her sisters' voices bawling like a banshee's queena, pounding on the edge of sorrow. Then the dog, bounding out of nowhere, breaks through this suspended cord of folly, disturbing and diminishing the gulls who, seconds before, cradled by the wind's invisible hands, were drifting wingless in the air. Here too is the boy by my side, as if he'd never left. Walking back together, we pass the old bothy, whose stones are not dead, and whose gable-end wall still wears the lichen tartan, colonising this 19th century ruin, this quiet empire of salt and damp green stringy jewel. The bothy might have collapsed, but the remaining wall is a sign of survival, folding its glory into the hilly canvas for us to stand and stare. These grand installations, now so obsolete, crofting no more, but curated by time and nature and weathered for form. Abandonment here is quiet beauty, haunting the eye, where reclamation becomes a powdery bloom, erasing ownership, writing its own history in spores and silence. He takes me to meet the old man, and at St. John's Head the sign stands plain, "Go no further." The island knows this is more than caution, it is covenant. But I choose to ignore and walk on ahead, intent on reaching the edge. The boy calls out, pleading for me to stay back, but I am in the old man's domain now, where the cliff leans into the Atlantic's pool and the Selkie's hum threads her way up through the spray. Orcadians say the old man calls from there, his reach not measured in stone, but in his salutation. To cross the line is to trespass inside his arm's length and risk being drawn under by the sea's mighty hand. I lie down on the edge and feel my belly dip and commune with the grassy bank. I lean into the wind, waiting for my l'appel du vide. The boy calls, impatient for my safety, Hyms holding by his side. His devotion is the quiet gravity that keeps them bound together. As we hike home, the chatter is filled with laughter, memory and pride. His stride carves its own songline into this Orcadian grail, etching the pathway where his ancestors once breathed. This part of the world receives the boy not as guest, but as scribe, recording in silence the rhythm of his belonging.